What's up guys, this is Sean and welcome back to the iherng podcast, and this episode today is brought to you by Versa. So for those who have joined in and maximized your tax relief last year, congratulations. But for those who are new, right, since it's the new year, you plan your new year resolutions in terms of finance or savings, right? This is the moment, because Versa has always been trying to get people, Malaysians, to cultivate habits in savings and investment. And how they are doing this is by giving extra rewards for people to save money within their app. They call this Quest. So for new signups between 1st of January and 31st of March 2025, if you were to save 1,000 ringgit within Versa Save, you will be rewarded additional 2% on your interest rate. And this is stackable. I'll explain that later. Within the app itself, there are different quests every now and then. And this new one is called Verse Saving Quest. If you have saved 5,000 ringgit and you maintain 1,000 ringgit within your Versa Save account, they will give you additional 1% for your interest rate. And again, the stackable side of things means the base rate of their saving for last year December is 3.71. Once you complete your welcome quest, you'll be rewarded additional 2% interest rate, which is 5.71%. Then once you complete your Verse Savings quest, another 1%. So in total, you'll be rewarded 6.71% on your saving amount. So this is how it looks like within the app itself, right? So now you can see the year of the snake kind of thing. And when you complete the quest, where they will tell you the checklist lah, maintain 1,000 balance lah, cash in minimum 5,000 right? So all these are within the app itself. It will tell you on how much additional interest rate you will be entitled. What a fun way to save money and invest. Check it out. And today, let's read an email from Mr. Kong. Hi iherng, I need some help and advice, please. I hope you can spend some time reading my case. I have recently bought a unit, my very first property. I have intended to use it for short-term stay purposes. Everything was well and I appointed a B&B operator. As things progressed, a deep issue arose. The building management issued a notice to all short-term stay operators demanding for a 100,000 deposit to continue their operations in this building. Shortly after I received my keys, the building management later restricted access for operators and their guests, resulting my appointed operator not to continue in this collaboration. Later, I hear only one operator was allowed to operate short-term stay business within this building. Hence, I have my suspicion. Can I ask of you to review my case? Thank you and regards, Mr. Kong. Okay, so it's pretty direct, and let's take a step back a little bit, right? So for those who are familiar with the market, last year it was a very focused year around the areas of KLCC and Bukit Bintang, where a lot of units are actually sold in smaller sizes because developers try to squeeze the ultimate price within the affordability of the public. So if you can have a 600,000 to 700,000 property within KLCC area, it sounds really great, right? And with the boom of our Malaysian tourism, the room rates right now for hotel stays and for Airbnbs is off the charts. The amount of returns people are getting is amazing. That's why all these are mushrooming. However, I've also discussed before the shortcoming of buying an Airbnb focused project, because that's not how we categorize as good investment. So in my books, in my perspective, what is a good property? It needs to have several rental strategies, or how Faizul Rizwan calls it, multiple rental options. So when I fully furnish the unit, it allows me to rent out to long-term stay people, which means the white collar families, whoever that's the target audience, right? I can rent out on a 2 years by 2 years kind of basis. Now there's this new trend of people renting for medium term, like 3 to 6 months also got. That kind of broke the norm, because usually tenancy agreement is always like 1 year, right? So now there's this 3 to 6 month period and it's in a huge demand. Then you have short-term stays like Airbnb. Then you can actually rent out to room by room. Some even go by bed. Well, all this depends on the location of the property. Therefore, before we invest in any particular property, this needs to be determined first. There needs to be several ways for you to get rental above your installment. That's the goal, right? That's why I don't really encourage everybody to just get a short-term stay oriented project, because what if you cannot rent out via this option? right? What if this channel of getting tenants, right, it's not working? It needs to be your plan D. After plan A, plan B, plan C, when all of them fail, it needs to be your plan D. But if the building projects or the investment strategy only involves one plan and it fails, unfortunately, it's this scenario right now. And why I personally is not going to get one of these short-term stay kind of project is because there are several restrictions to it, and it's actually very, very serious. Okay, so let's start with our Penang government, who just restricted Airbnb operations within residential title projects. So they are only allowed within commercial title projects. Suddenly, the demand for residential projects all drop, because if people cannot rent out Airbnb using the unit, right, there won't be demand for the unit. It makes sense then for people who are genuinely trying to buy a home to house their family, right? So I think it's a good thing. You want to do investment, you do somewhere else, right? The second example then will be Singapore, where they restrict Airbnb or short-term stay operations completely nationwide, with the justification of trying to protect their hotel industry. And personally, I also agree, because from a taxation, from an economy point of view, when the hoteliers are doing very well, the more tax the government will get from their profits, because I doubt a lot of Airbnb operators, right, are qualified to a certain level where they will start paying tax. Even they are qualified, maybe they don't pay tax, right? So that's why it's easier to just monitor that way. And us being in KL right now, I suspect you are in KL. I kind of know which project that you're referring to as well. There will be a possibility for our state government or our federal government, if you're in KL, to just follow those rules from a restriction point of view. Okay, so the restrictions are divided into different levels. One is from if Malaysia just announced, okay, no more Airbnb. Wow, it would be a very serious thing, but I don't think that's going to happen. Most likely, it will only happen from a state level point of view. Like for example, Selangor don't allow Airbnb for residential title projects. Only commercial title projects can be operated. That I don't see any harm with it actually. Personally, I do enjoy it more as a resident, because I don't like Airbnb operators within the home that I'm living for a few reasons. The mentality of guests and tourists that is using the space. Everybody likes to go holiday, everybody likes to stay fancy hotels, and part of that enjoyment involves the very minimal consequences of cleaning after that. Right? You got to enjoy the space, use up the space, do everything with it ready, then just leave the cleaning to somewhere else because you are paying a fee. That's what holiday is all about. But that is a business. But if you're using people's home as a business, then I think there needs to be a price higher to pay. Because for me personally, when I bring back my kid from school, we go to the swimming pool and there will be a bunch of strangers that I don't even know, never seen them before, don't even know their nationality and things like that. They are just partying hard, drinking, enjoying themselves, while a resident who pays maintenance fee on time every month don't get to use the facilities. Somewhat I become the isolated, the alienated person. And guess what? For tomorrow, they won't be there anymore, and they don't even care whether are there damages to the common facilities, because again, they are not residents. So that is from a homeowner point of view, right? But from an investor point of view, do I think an Airbnb operation brings value to my investment? Definitely. If the Airbnb operation is making money, it proves that there's a short-term stay demand for that location. So one more extra plan or extra rental strategy will be established within the sales pitch for me to sell my unit at a higher price. So definitely it's good. But from an operations point of view, from a building management point of view, there's no direct qualification or there's no direct license for anyone to call themselves an operator. Basically, everybody can just set up an Agoda account, set up an Airbnb account, set up a Muda account, and call themselves an operator already. What they do, they just rent out the unit for you only. So personally, I've visited buildings where they are like 7 to 8 different operators. So the entire lobby is just like an advertisement board full with numbers and people. It's just messy. Trouble is, whenever there's complaints from residents about the guests, the building management will not know who is in charge. or whose guess is this? So even they want to penalize anybody, they want to get somebody to pay the repair fee or to pay extra maintenance fee for the facilities that they use, right? It will be very, very challenging. Therefore, the way forward, I also kind of proposed this multiple episodes ago, is to have a hefty deposit. So this allows the building management, this allows residents to pre-qualify operators that is knowledgeable and they know what they are doing. So like you say here, it's about 100,000 deposit as a prerequisite for you to run the business, right? So I personally think it's good. If you can pay that upfront deposit, it means you are financially loaded, you'll be more stable. I won't worry about damages that your guests did during the stay. So now I know I got money on my side to deduct for repairs. Also, the number might shrink from 8 operators to 1 or 2. So it's easily controlled. That amount also shows the seriousness or the commitment of the operator. If you really know you will make the money, you won't hesitate to put in 100,000. But just because the entry level is so low where it's non-existent, anybody can do this business, can just start this entrepreneurship, host a stay kind of thing, right? It becomes very, very messy. But within the email, the last sentence there, if I read the isi tersirat correctly, if I read the hidden message correctly, you are suspecting that the building management has pre-qualified a relative or a friendly party to only operate the business within the building. But even if they are friendly party or they are relatives or related to the mother company or the building management, right? You can only call them unfair if they didn't pay the 100,000 and they still qualify to operate. So you can also operate, like the operator that you were about to collab with. If they pay 100,000, I think they will operate too. And the only way to ensure that these facts are checked is by you joining the management meeting later, because I think it's a new project, you just got your keys, right? So still it's under the management of the developer. Only about a year later, when the joint management body is established, then residents get to participate within the AGM and you can pop up all these questions. But again, right? Again, why is one singular operator a problem? It's only a problem when it's not your operator, ma. And to me, as a homeowner, whichever operator doesn't really matter also, right? Technically. So, okay, for those who are not familiar with how this works is, usually, these operators will approach owners in a way where, hey, Mr. Owner, you got this unit here. What's your plan for it? Or you want to do Airbnb? I'm an operator, right? So this is how we can collab. You give me the unit, I furnish the unit to a level where I think it's adequate. It will catch the attention of tourists to come here and stay, right? So for the profits that we have gathered for a month, after minusing the cost, the profit will share 50-50 or 60-40 or 70-30 among the operator and the owner. So the difference between operators then will be the difference in the collaboration format. Some might require you to furnish the unit before you hand over to us. Some, they will actually just sponsor your furnishings because they are more confident in getting the right guests and things like that. So maybe that's why you are not as happy, because the term and condition of your operator is better than the appointed operator of the building management, right? So that's what I think is happening in your case lah. Well, only one way to verify and one way to find out. But even if you find out, right, I don't see anything that you can do. I don't see anything wrong with it as well. Because from a building management point of view, it's just very easy to manage. Number one, you only have a debate when a second operator or a third operator who is also willing to pay up the deposit of 100,000 and they don't allow them to operate. Then maybe, hey, are you dominating the market? Is there a hidden agenda or whatsoever? And again, you are in no position to question this until JMB is established. So maybe the only way to go about this is to urge the handover of power to the residents. Then maybe that will be good. But again, is it good to have 15 different operators within a building? What's the sweet spot then if it's not? 3 to 5, 7 to 8, 10 to 15? Because this is a bigger problem than just domination or than just monopoly and things like that. What I foresee Airbnb oriented buildings will be, if not managed well, it's going to be student accommodation buildings. If you look into those buildings attached or adjacent to colleges or universities, right, usually the conditions are terrible. The usage rate is just very, very high. And when everybody is just operating from a short-term stay point of view, from a hotelier point of view, right? Even if maintenance are done poorly, who cares? And there's nothing the building management can do, because if owners are all investors who don't pay maintenance fees, the building condition will just deteriorate lah. That's why if you look into resale value of these projects, usually not very good. The only way that you can attract the next buyer, or as an investor yourself, the only way to exit the property is to sell to another investor. But again, when building condition not as great already, the room rates won't be as great too, and it will just be free falling from there. Less people stay, less profit to be made, less maintenance will be paid. The buildings then will only get worse, and guess what? A family person will not buy your property to just raise a family, right? I won't buy an Airbnb oriented project to raise my kid, right? It wouldn't make sense. Then from an investor point of view, I will only want to buy this if it's money making, correct? When it's not making money already and you try to exit, then you think from another investor point of view, I will buy from you, right? But the weirdest thing is also this: a lot of people, when you are making your peak money, which is like 2 to 3 years time right after VP, building condition impeccable, management very good, building is still the latest building within the location, hot. At that time, then you wouldn't exit because the property is making money. So that's the dilemma of short-term stay oriented projects. And for those who are about to buy, these are just the things that you need. Is it wrong to buy one? Not really. It's just the different strategies to be applied. Like in my opinion, these kind of projects, you need to exit quick. You cannot really point out a maximum time or sweet spot to exit. Again, the human behavior is always this: when the investment is actually making money, your room rental is good, you have a lot of profits, a lot of positive cash flow every month, you wouldn't want to let go. In fact, you will want to acquire more. Only when there's a point where suddenly, oh, the rate starts dropping, or there's a new building coming up. In fact, there's going to be like 10,000 more units coming up within Bukit Bintang and KLCC. All same size, same facilities, same selling point. Guess what will happen, right? So that's the dilemma of buildings of such formats. I will only encourage you to include this within your investment portfolio. After getting multiple, like 3 to 4 other projects already, you really know what you are doing, only get this one lah. Because this is your first, right? That's why it's like a culture shock for you. And what can you do, right? And what should you do? Number one, you can just go with the appointed operator lah. Although the terms and conditions might not be like your operator that you collabed earlier, but what are your other options? When there are no other options, they are the only one, then you might not like their terms and conditions, but too bad lah. The mistake has been done from the buying or from the decision that you choose to buy this project. Again, the multiple rental options. When Airbnb is your only solution, the only way to have rental cover your installment, right? Go ahead with it though. Maybe the terms and conditions will be different, where now this operator a bit action, right? I will not cover all renovations. All renovations must be done by owner. If not, I will not operate. Again, what are your options? So once again, the restrictions that might change the game for all these typologies of buildings, right? From a nationwide point of view, from a state point of view, from a building point of view. So now GMB or even MC, Management Committee, can easily just agree on a policy to just say no more short-term stay allowed. And suddenly your entire strategy around the investment unit will be changed. But, right, let's say if you're really not happy with the terms and conditions of this particular operator, it's only a very, very big problem if you have not saved up or you did not budget anything for renovation. So now you are left with a unit and you got no money. Now you got no money to do renovation. The early operator promised to furnish, so now he cannot furnish, right? How? The money I spent on something else already leh. How? One way is to just go on Shopee or Lazada to just get something simple, right? And rent it out long term first lor. So that's one way. The other way, if you have credibility, meaning your credit card is still legit, you have very good financial records, you can go to the makeover guys because they have zero interest installment plans in place. So maybe that might be one of the way to go, because the goal will be to just furnish the place and rent out first. At least there is rental. If not, it's going to be zero. So after you do that, maybe you wait until 8 to 10 months time when the developers all has announced to hand over the building to the JMB, the joint management body, where half of it will be developer, half of it will be residents. So they will slowly hand over all the management to the team. Only then you have a right, or you can have a chance to question or to raise this issue and to propose, hey, should we have more operators? Because it's very easy to be very selfish in thinking from your own self as one unit owner to have your own operator. So imagine everybody having their own operator. What is the consequences? It's going to be a price war, number one. It's going to be a maintenance havoc, number two. It's going to be a liaison nightmare within the concierge. Hey, I book here, you book there, why different price? Who is what? Then the whole building will be like a market like that. Or maybe you can just accept the fact that, hey, the operator that you were going to collab is just not qualified. You can question him, why didn't you put in 100,000? So if he placed that deposit already and the building still restrict their access, maybe that's a problem lah. But again, you can only question when the JMB is established, because now it's still under the management body. You can make noise, you can talk about it. Ultimately, what's the pain right now? Your unit is empty and you cannot generate rent So sort this out first lor. That's my opinion lah. And weirdly enough, I know somewhat which building you are referring to. I've also heard a lot about this. But again, I don't see the rentals dropping. I might question only on the communication of making this operator the only one qualified. So maybe that process was not done well. And that is why I don't prefer such investment units or such building typology to be within my investment portfolio. I don't have an appetite for this. I still prefer a long-term rent. Because ultimately, if you were to buy property, right, if a building is not great in rental to begin with, they will resort to Airbnb one. Because practically any property in Malaysia, once you Airbnb it, you short-term stay it, all can make positive cash flow. So if you were to reverse engineer that statement, if the long-term rent can already cover installment, do you need to use short-term stay as the strategy? Because it's so much messier. And I guess that's all for this episode. So Mr. Kong, I hope that the advices would help, right? So focus on the problem, just move on as quickly as possible, because time is money, literally, from an installment point of view. So once that is sorted out, you can only question the fairness, you can only question the transparency when the JMB is established. Even if you have a committee of other residents together to make a complaint and to have a sit-down session or to discuss, right? It will only lengthen the process of your unit being rented out. Again, it's not solving really the problem. Well, do keep me updated on the progress of the case. Very, very exciting, very, very interesting as well. And for those who still have any questions regarding real estate, you just email me at taniherng@gmail.com, or you can just DM me on Instagram, iherng, and I'll try to reply as much as possible, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Ciao.